President says steps will be taken to combat COVID-19 while continuing economic activities. Many state and private institutions reopen, subject to restrictions. New secretaries appointed to 7 cabinet ministries. Major General Sanjeeva Munasinghe assumes duties as the new secretary of the Ministry of Health. 7 petitions challenging the date of the election fixed for support. 8 interim petitions filed. Omalpe Sobidathera requests to form a national government.
Good evening, this is Primetime News on TV1. On your lead story of the day, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa appointed 7 new secretaries, including 2 retired military officials today.
Major General Sanjeeva Munasinghe has been appointed as the Secretary to the Ministry of Healthcare and Indigenous Medical Services. He is a consultant radiologist at the Army Hospital and also the Director General of the Army Health Services. The newly appointed Health Secretary had once served as the President of the Sri Lanka College of Military Medicine and was once the Colonel Commandant of the Sri Lanka Army Medical Corps. Retired Major General A.K.S. Pereira was appointed as the Secretary to the Ministry of Mahabali, Agriculture, Irrigation and Rural Development. He had previously served as the Deputy Chief of Staff in the Army and also as the Commander of the Central Security Force Headquarters. The retired Major General had also previously served as a Director General at the Army Headquarters. According to the President's Office, S.M. Mohammed has been appointed as the Secretary to the Ministry of Justice, Human Rights and Legal Reforms. She had been serving as the Secretary to the Tourism Ministry under the present administration. During the previous government, Mohammed served as the Secretary to the Ministry of Postal Services and Muslim Religious Affairs. J.J. Ratnasiri was appointed as the Secretary to the Ministry of Public Administration, Home Affairs, Provincial Councils and Local Government. He was serving as the Secretary to the Justice Ministry under the current government. Ratnasiri also served in the capacity of Secretary to the Ministry of Public Administration under the previous government. Meanwhile, Siripala Hettiarachchi has been appointed as the Secretary to the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation. He had been serving as the Secretary to the Ministry of Public Administration, Home Affairs, Provincial Councils and Local Government under the present administration. Hettiarachchi has over 35 years of experience in different governmental organizations and has served in many positions, including Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Defence for more than a decade. Among the other appointments were Neil Hapuinna, who was assigned as the Secretary to the Ministry of Women and Child Affairs and Social Security. Neil Hapuinna had been serving as the Secretary to the Agriculture Ministry at the time of his new appointment. He also holds the experience of serving as a former Samudri Commissioner and the former Director of Litro Gas Lanka. Badrani Jayawardena was appointed as the Secretary to the Ministry of Internal Trade, Food Security and Consumer Welfare. She had been serving as the Secretary to the Ministry of Health and Indigenous Medical Services at the time of her latest appointment.
The multiple fundamental rights petitions filed challenging the date set for the general election were fixed for support on the 18th and 19th of May.
The superior courts of Sri Lanka, including the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, resumed their operations today after a break of about 52 days. Now, one of the main petitions that were considered at the Supreme Court was the petition filed alleging that the sovereignty of the people has been violated by not reconvening Parliament, and also challenging the Gazette notification issued calling for an election. Of course, the cases were postponed, and today when we arrived at the Supreme Court complex, we saw that safety regulations were strictly followed. Lawyers and parties were wearing face masks, and there were other health checks that were required to be followed before you enter the court premises. Also, the number of people that were allowed to attend the hearing was also limited to a certain degree, and court proceedings will continue as the days progress.
The petitions challenging the election date were taken up before a 3-member Supreme Court bench comprising of Chief Justice Jayantha Jayasuriya, Justice Mudur Fernando and Justice S. Thurai Raja. The petitions were filed by 7 parties, including Attorney-at-Law Charitha Gunaratna. 8 interim petitions were also filed before the Supreme Court against these fundamental rights petitions. This included an interim petition by Venerable Murutetwe Anandathera. The Supreme Court granted permission until 3 p.m. tomorrow for any other party which wished to make requests to appear as intermediary parties for the said petitions. President's Counsel M.A. Sumandiran, appearing for one of the petitioners, requested the Supreme Court to issue an interim injunction order against any steps being taken on the elections until a date is fixed, to consider the petitions as an urgent matter and to take the applications up for consideration. However, the Supreme Court refused to issue an interim injunction order, adding an appropriate order would be made after listening to what all parties have to say. President's Counsel M.A. Sumandiran further requested for the petition to be taken up before a full bench. Appearing for the Attorney General, Additional Solicitor General Indika Demuni de Silva said that this must be decided by the Chief Justice. She further informed the Supreme Court that the Attorney General is not in a position to appear for the National Elections Commission and its members in the FR application filed challenging the date of the election.
An election shouldn't be held under any circumstances under the current situation. When nomination numbers are given, candidates will stage political rallies. When this is being done, this virus will continue to spread. Who will be held responsible for this?
I don't know why people are attempting to come before the Supreme Court and postpone the date of the election. We intervene to stop this injustice. It is the Elections Commission that has to decide on the date of the election, and we will not interfere in that. As members of the general public, we respect the decision of the Elections Commission, but we can see that the opposition has jumped the gun now. Currently, the opposition has taken over the duties of the Elections Commission.
It is not possible to go in for an election over dead bodies, where people are dying, people are falling sick, and the country is in total shutdown or lockdown mode. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, people thought that he will protect the constitution, but it seems that he does not seem to want to protect the constitution. He's passing the buck to the Elections Commission. The Elections Commission is passing the buck back to the President. The Elections Commission, acting under the Constitution, has to clearly make that recommendation or advice to the President under Article 33D of the Constitution.
This is clearly a fear of the election and a stand against democracy. We have no objection on holding the elections at a time when the people of the country and the world have accepted the fact that our government, along with the President and the Prime Minister, has successfully managed to control the spread of the virus. We condemn these actions. The lives of the people must be restored to normalcy.
Curfew in all districts other than Colombo and Gampaha districts was lifted this morning. According to the President's media division, curfew in these districts were reimposed at 8 tonight.
Curfew in the districts of Colombo and Gampaha will be in effect indefinitely. Curfew in other districts will be lifted at 5 a.m. and reimposed at 8 p.m. every day. The government also decided to lift curfew in the districts of Kalutara and Putlam, where curfew was previously imposed indefinitely. Meanwhile, steps were taken to gradually restore normalcy in the districts of Colombo and Gampaha today. Thereby, steps were taken to reopen state institutions, while several private institutions were also reopened.
Many state and public sector offices were reopened today, adhering to the guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health. 10 office trains operated this morning. A special security program was put in place at the Colombo Fort railway station since morning, and the body temperature of all passengers were inspected at the station. We are going to work after being at home for 2 months. If this method prevails and these facilities are given to the people continuously, our country will become a decent country. I am of the view if everyone maintains social distance and behave in an exemplary manner, we as a country can overcome this situation. Trains were operating today. We took a train today. I have to get down from Fort and go to Vellavatta. I don't know whether I will be able to. However, Sri Lanka's Station Masters Union criticized the plans put in place by the government. The Railways Department of Sri Lanka, which collected data of state sector employees for 2 weeks, was unable to send them. After struggling to send the information to the railway stations, 10 empty trains arrived at the Fort railway station. Many passengers who did not receive the SMS sent by the Railways Department were at the Fort railway station. They ultimately had to go home.
හැරිලා ගෙදර යන්න සිද්ධ වුණා.
10 office trains operated today. The trains were only used to transport employees in the state and private sector who provide essential services. The seats in the trains were allocated this week for people who have made bookings. We request those who wish to use railway services during the next week to visit our website and reserve your seats. We are making plans to provide railway services in the coming weeks based on the requirement.
අපගේ කාර්ය මණ්ඩලය මේ සඳහා ඉතාමත් උද්‍යෝගයෙන් කටයුතු කළා. ඉදිරියටත් අපි අවශ්‍ය ප්‍රමාණයට අවශ්‍ය වෙන ආකාරයෙන් දුම්රිය යෙදීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය සැලසුම් සකස් කරමින් පවතී.
Trains were operating in the evening as well to provide transport to those who were going home from their workplaces.
උදෙත් ආවා මේ කෝච්චිය මෙතනම දවසත් මේ කෝච්චිය මෙතනම යන්න පුළුවන් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
දිගට ඉස්සරහට මේ හැමදාම මේ වගේ වැඩපිළිවෙලක් තියෙනවා නම් අපේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාව තරම් හොඳ පර්පස් රටක් තවත් නැහැ මේ විදිහට කරගන්න පුළුවන් නම්.
Meanwhile, SLTB buses were seen carrying passengers today. According to our correspondent, passengers strictly following health guidelines issued by Ministry of Health were seen when getting on the buses. We began to operate buses in the Colombo, Kalutara and Gampaha districts. About 1,100 buses have been operating in these districts. We prepared a joint timetable with railway services so that buses can pick up passengers who have arrived in these districts on a train. However, we did not witness the number of people that we anticipated. We did not even have 25 people to travel on each bus. The inter-district bus services are not operating. We have stopped them. We could release a few of those buses as well. Traffic congestion was seen at entry points to Colombo this morning. Many state sector institutions, including Setsiripaya, Isurupaya and Inland Revenue Department, were opened today. All officials had to undergo strict security measures before entering the office premises.
කිව්ව වැඩපොළ ඒගොල්ලෝ මිස් දෙන්නම් කියලා පාස් එකක් යන්නේ නැහැ. නෑ පයින්ම ආවේ මේ අකුරුකොට ඉඳලා. බස් නෑ. කියන්නේ එක බස් එකක් ගියාම නගගත්තෙත් නෑ බස් 8ක් ගියා එකක්වත් අපිට නැවතුනේ නෑ. දා ඉතින් ඇත්තටම වැඩට යන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වුණාට මෙහෙම වැඩට යන්න බස් නැති වුණොත් නම් ටිකක් අපිට අපහසුතාවයටපත් වෙනවා. ප්‍රතිනීතිය වෙත් කිරීම හොඳයි. ඒ වුණාට දැන් අපි 7:00 ඉඳන් මේ තාම බස් එකකට නැග ගන්න බැරුව තමයි ඉන්නේ.
While the mechanism to resume the daily activities of the general public received mixed reviews, we now take a look at the situation across the country. People in many districts adhered to the regulations issued by the government. However, in certain places, the regulations issued by health authorities were not adhered to. Curfew in the districts of Putlam and Kalutara were lifted after 1.5 months. Street vendors in Chilao began preparation to conduct their businesses this morning. However, not many people were seen in the town today. The Chilao fish market was packed with fishmongers, fishermen and customers. After the curfew in the Kalutara district was lifted, many people travelled to the Kalutara town to fulfill their daily needs. Many people also visited the Kalutara police station this morning to obtain curfew passes. Inter-district buses did not operate from the Kurunegala bus depot this morning, even though curfew in the district was lifted. Many office employees who had planned to travel to Colombo for work were affected.
With many restrictions being relaxed in the country, let's now take a look at the COVID-19 statistics in Sri Lanka. The number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in the country rose to 863. 7 new cases were detected today. The Director General of Health Services, Dr. Anil Jasinghe, said that 2 of the COVID-19 patients that were detected during the past 24 hours had landed in the country from Dubai. The number of patients who made a full recovery rose to 343. 22 patients were discharged today. 511 COVID-19 patients continue to receive in-house treatment. 9 COVID-19 related deaths have been reported in the country so far. More news. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that COVID-19 should be eradicated with utmost perseverance while keeping the livelihood of the general public and the economy of the country active. The president expressed these views when he met with the officials of the Presidential Task Force to eradicate COVID-19 today.
The president points out that plans are in place to revive the economy during the pandemic, but no room will be left for a famine to engulf the country. According to the president's media division, the president had further said that the government will learn from the previous errors they made and make sure that they will not repeat it while going forward with future plans. President Rajapaksa had noted the need of finding out the reason behind why a large number of COVID-19 cases were discovered from the Sri Lankan Navy from Keselwatta. The president emphasized the importance of ad hoc inspection at bus stands, three-wheel stands, construction sites and at the Colombo Marine Market, where a large number of people gather on a daily basis. The president said that 3,297 students studying abroad and temporary visa holders have been brought back to the island and they have been directed to be quarantined. The president stressed the need to bring back people from overseas with proper control and in a risk-free manner. He pointed out that a plethora of health issues have arisen and livelihood at a regional level has been hampered due to the usage of illicit liquor. The president also said that the jogging tracks and other mental fitness activities should be restarted as people living in urban areas are under tremendous pressure by staying indoors. According to the president's media division, the president has advised to keep logs of all biodata in one system and to expedite the process of issuing airline tickets on a district level. More advice has been issued to restudy the methodology of preserving and managing harvest and to utilize them when necessary.
Minister of Education Dallas Aleha Perumal said a decision on when schools can be reopened can be taken up by next week. The minister made this statement at the Mathura District Development Coordinating Committee meeting.
We will be able to decide on the date that schools can reopen after holding discussions with the health sector. For now, we have decided to reopen them in 4 phases. In short, the children will only be brought back to school when their safety can be ensured. We will bring students back to school in the final phase of the mechanism to restore the activities of the country back to normalcy. The health sector has advised us to first disinfect all schools and keep the schools closed for 4 days. We hope to bring the teachers, principals and non-academic staff back to the schools after this. After that, we will bring the advanced level students back to school and after that, the ordinary level students. It is only after that we will reopen schools for smaller children. This entire procedure will take at least a month from the date that it begins. The Colombo stock market's most liquid share index, S&P SL20, plunged more than 10% due to the panic selling of risky assets today. The Colombo Stock Exchange started trading for the first time after March 20th due to the lockdown-style curfew.
The S&P SL20 index ended 10.11% weaker at 1,750.49 points, while the benchmark all-share price index fell 4.10% to 4,384.10 points with the turnover of 24.89 million rupees. Trading at the stock market closed at 11:01 a.m. before the scheduled 1 p.m. Market analysts said the CSE trading was halted within a few seconds after it began trading, and they expect this situation to continue until the market settles down, as foreign investors are looking at exiting due to the global pandemic.
So there was heavy selling pressure in the market today at the start itself. Market actually basically had 197 trades during the day. So with the market auction itself, the market closed down. So according to the new SEC rules, there's a 3-tier circuit breaker that is effective at the moment. Once the S&P SL20 index falls by 5%, there will be a market halt of around 30 minutes. Then once the market reopens, if there's a further fall of 2.5%, then there's a market closure of another 30 minutes, so altogether 7.5%. Then after that, if there's a further fall of another 2.5%, that is, which if the S&P 20 index falls 10%, then from there on the market will be closed. So today what happened was at the start itself, the market fell immediately by 10%, and with that the market was open for less than 1 minute, and the market had to be closed because the S&P 20 index fell by over 10% for the day.
More local news. There is uncertainty surrounding the position of chairman of the Mahiyangane Pradesh Sabha. A case has been filed regarding the matter at the Mahiyangane Magistrates Court.
The former chairman of the Mahiyangane Pradeshya Sabha, Karu Veeratna, had legally taken leave from the council sessions from the 19th of March to the 27th of April and handed over his duties to the vice chairman of the council, Sampath Ekanayaka, during this time. However, since the election was postponed and this has given rise to a legal issue at the Pradeshya Sabha, the Elections Commission informed the former chairman to legally extend his leave. However, there was a disagreement between the former chairman and the current chairman of the Pradeshya Sabha on who has the power to convene the Pradeshya Sabha. A complaint was lodged with the police after the former chairman had arrived at the Pradeshya Sabha complex and resumed his work. The police reported facts on this matter to the Mahiyangane Magistrates Court, and the case was postponed to the 15th of September.
Addressing a media briefing today, former Minister Patali Champika Ranawaka expressed the following views regarding the appeal made by the President's Secretary requesting state servants to donate their salaries for the month of May.
While the President's Secretary is complaining of a shortage in funds to pay salaries, they are spending more than 31 billion rupees to construct roads. They are also going to borrow 15 billion from China to refurbish roads spanning 105 kilometers. The people are facing a shortage of food. The government is unable to pay employees their wages. However, they are going to construct roads. We are aware of the cunning plan. It is by constructing roads that the Rajapaksa family paves the way for a road for prosperity. We have not seen other experts except for the white-collar criminals and the economic destroyers who served between 2010 and 2015. Basit Rajapaksa is currently managing the economy. Dr. P.B. Jayasundara and Ajit Niwad Cabral are an integral part of this team. They also served in key positions between 2006 and 2015. The leadership hasn't been given to a new person. This is not a personal request of P.B. Jayasundara. He cannot make personal requests. This is definitely the economic agenda of the Rajapaksa family. They are leaving employees stranded without paying wages. We can expect more peculiar proposals from P.B. Jayasundara in the future. A main investigation had been conducted at that time. That was regarding contractors who were paid through state banks for constructing roads before the 2014 parliamentary election, who had been summoned to Temple Tree seeking 15% of their payment. By this we can assume that at least 479 billion rupees had been embezzled through this. This is enough for Jayasundara to pay the salaries of state sector servants for 6 months. Therefore, we request Jayasundara to conduct investigations and recover the money that had been looted through the Mig Deal, Avant-Garde, the construction of expressways, the Northern Railway project, the Putlam Power Plant project, and also port development projects. If he can do that, then he will have the moral right to make a request from state sector employees.
විමර්ශනය කරලා තියෙන ඒවා. විමර්ශනය කරලා තියෙන ධනය ටිකවත් වහාම රටට ලබා දෙන්න. රටට ලබා දුන්නාම අන්න රාජ්‍ය සේවකින්ගෙන් ඉල්ලීමක් කරන්න සදාචාරාත්මක අයිතියක් ලැබෙනවා.
Meanwhile, convening a media briefing, the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna said there is no intention of reconvening the old parliament. There is no need or intention of reconvening the parliament that was dissolved. The emergency situation is implemented through regulations. These regulations need the approval of parliament. It is only for this purpose that the old parliament can be convened. A state of emergency has not been announced. There is no reason and no need for a state of emergency. If there are no regulations, there is no need for Parliament to convene to approve the regulations. Article 150, Sub-Article 3 of the Constitution of Sri Lanka clearly states that if a budget has not been passed when Parliament is dissolved, the President has the full powers to allocate funds for public services during the time period that the Parliament remains dissolved and 3 months from the date that the new Parliament convenes.
Also, in the Sinhala copy of the Constitution, Article 70, within 3 months of dissolving the old parliament, what should the president reconvene? He should reconvene the new parliament and not the old parliament. The word new has been mentioned 3 times in Article 70. These people were rejected. They were asked to go home. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa presented a new policy to the people, a new vision. The former parliament represents factions that are completely against his agenda. So what is now being done to this old parliament? These people in the old parliament are given powers to draft laws and full control over the public finances. Should this be done? Is it in line with the principles of democracy? Can this in any way be compared with the franchise of the people? We will not do this.
ඒක කළ යුතු දෙයක්. ඒක ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදයට අනුකූලද? සර්ව ජන ඡන්ද බලය සමග කිසිසේත් ගලපන්න පුළුවන් දෙයක් නෙක. ඒක අපි කරන්නේ නැහැ.
මහාචාර්ය බන්දුල ගුණවර්ධන
Bandula Gunawardena has now become the President's counsel. He says as per this particular clause in the Constitution, the President can obtain an unlimited amount of debt. Then he also says that the President can spend any amount without any limit. This same person put Ranil Wickremesinghe also in trouble. At that time, he tried to transform the economy into a positive one when it was negative. What did he say during Mahinda Rajapaksa's time? He said that people can live with 2,500 rupees. He put Mahinda Rajapaksa also in trouble. Bandula Gunawardena is trying to put Gotabaya Rajapaksa in trouble by quoting various clauses in the Constitution without knowing them properly.
බන්දුල ගුණවර්ධන මැතිතුමා දැන් ගෝඨාභය මහත්තයාත් අන්දනවා.
There is no connection between reopening the country and the election. The Supreme Court and the National Elections Commission will decide on that. The government has nothing to do about it. 31 states in the US are open, although over 1.3 million people have been diagnosed. India and Germany have also opened their country. The disease has been controlled and we want to return to normalcy. If the economy collapses, the people might even starve to death. We are not in a hurry to hold elections. We are not afraid either.
They are reopening the country with greed for power. They will put the lives of the people at risk. The DG of Health Services has asked the minister to be careful when restoring public transport. What does that mean? It means that it is not suitable for people to gather in places. Tell the leaders of this country to come before the National Election Commission and to go to Bandaranayakapura and say that the country is safe. They are not going to step out. They are trying to put the people's lives at risk and pave the way for an election. While they are looking at ways to control this virus, these people are also looking at ways to earn advantages through it. That creates conflict. If the objective of reopening the country is to hold the election, that creates a conflict. These matters have to be organized well. The proper mechanisms should be in place. If the correct people are used, then there will be no conflict.
The country cannot remain closed forever. How can people come to parliament and take their seats?
ඔක්කොමලට එන්න කියලා. දැන් ওই 200 ගාන ඇවිල්ලා කොහොමද සීටින් පනවන්නේ? පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ සීට්ස් ඉන්නේ මෙහෙම අත ළඟින්. මෙහෙම ඔක්කොටම වාඩි වෙන්න වෙනවා. එතන කොරෝනා වෛරසයේ තියෙන
How can they take their seats in the chamber? Where will interpreters take their seats? What should be done is to change the seating order in the parliament. The structure of the parliament should be changed. The seats should be placed with a 1 meter distance. If we sit so close to each other, everyone will get corona. That is probably why they want to convene parliament.
ඒක වෙන්නදී කට්ටියව ගෙනල්ලා එකට දාලා පාර්ලිමේන්තුව කැඳවන්න කියලා.
While these debates continue to dominate the political stage, we looked into the plight of the people who are suffering under the prevailing situation. Corn farmers in Hurulu Etson in Kinihirigama Kakirava allege that the corn seeds that they sowed are not taking root. They had purchased these seeds from a private seller.
දැන් අපි ඊට බඩින්ගුරුවෙන් 120ක විතර ප්‍රමාණයක් පැලවෙන්නේ නැහැ. එතකොට දැන් අපිට නැවත ඉතින් බඩින්ගුරුවට ගන්න ක්‍රමයක්වත් නැහැ.
සතියක් විතර වෙනවා වගා කරලා පැලවෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් දැන් දෙපාරක් පාළු හැදුවා. ඒන පැලෙත් මේ නිරෝගී නැහැ.
We spent about 10 to 15,000 rupees. If good seeds are sowed, 100% of them take root. These companies have lied to us and caused a grave injustice to us. We reported on the 7th of this month that although farmers in Bellan Kadavala, Kakirava sowed corn seeds on 80 acres of land, these seeds have not taken root. Shouldn't an investigation be conducted into multinational companies that scam farmers like this? Meanwhile, farmers in Ampara allege that they have not received compensation for damages caused by the fall armyworm, commonly known as the Sena caterpillar. The government had promised these farmers to pay the compensation 2 years ago. The Ampara district is among the hardest hit districts by the Sena caterpillar menace that plagued the country in 2018.
We have pawned our jewelry and our deeds. We are helpless. They said that our bank loans will be cut off as compensations for the damages that were caused, but none of the loans have been cut off.
Homalpe Sobita Thero expressed his views regarding a national government at a press conference today. We can come to the conclusion that it is dangerous to go for an election during a special time period where the country is going through the coronavirus pandemic. It is more practical that the parliament can come to a common ground to constitutionally approve a regulation regarding finance. It is important that the government and the opposition together work to uplift the country without thinking about power. A national government will unite everyone in achieving one goal. Even though it was with them we saw the opposition handing over the PM's post to the government soon after the presidential elections were over. That is good. It is better to come to a united alliance and a national policy. Holding an election is dangerous. We see it as an attempt to halt the progress that has been happening so far. Former opposition leader Sajith Premadasa met with the German ambassador to Sri Lanka today.
The discussion had revolved around manufacturing personal protective equipment through garment factories and exporting them to foreign countries, including the European region.
Since the operations of several industries in the garment sector have been stalled, I requested the German ambassador to intervene and facilitate the exportation of personal protective equipment that has a huge demand in the global market. I have also requested the US ambassador, the British High Commissioner and the EU ambassador to hold talks with the apparel industry in a bid to increase the production capacity of personal protective gear as operations have been affected at present.
Secretary to the Ministry of Defence urges the public to be aware of an ongoing scam using mobile-based digital e-wallet cash transfer system and ransom by threatening individuals. It was revealed that an organized group is operating mobile-based cash transfer scam to take ransom by urging them to pay money to take their names out from some ongoing criminal investigation. This was brought to the attention of Defence Secretary Major General Kamal Gunaratne by the police at a recent meeting held with top defence officials at the ministry. According to the police, the fraudsters had called some individuals, threatening and demanding them to pay between 25,000 rupees and 50,000 rupees using mobile cash transferring systems. The Constitutional Council met today, chaired by its chairman Honorable Karu Jayasuriya at the Speaker's official residence. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, former opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, along with several former MPs and civil society representatives were present at the meeting. Members of the Constitutional Council appreciated the role carried out by the Elections Commission in fulfilling its responsibilities in the face of difficult conditions and expressed full confidence in it. The Constitutional Council expressed its displeasure pertaining to various allegations levelled by some media outlets when it came to holding such meetings. Every child is a different kind of flower, and all of them together make this world a beautiful garden. Today, the Gamma the Nagitimu Sri Lanka song was sung by a group of differently abled children. We leave you tonight with this moving footage reminding you that all of us together, you and I, as Sri Lankans, can rise up in these trying times. I'm Tarsha Kumar Singh along with our interpreter Brandy Cruz. Good night.